Greetings, everyone, everywhere. It's your girl Morg, stopping you dead in your tracks. I'm your host, Morgan Martin, and this is the Morgan Martin Show. Tonight, we are in for a special treat. Our guest tonight is newly appointed judge in Panama City, Florida, Judge Devin Collier. And guess what else? He's a FAMU graduate. Go Rattlers, hence the green. All rise and give a warm round of applause for our guest tonight, Judge Devin Collier. Hi, Judge Devin Collier. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So excited to have you on the show. Thank you for saying yes to being a guest on the Morgan Martin Show. We're excited to have you tonight and to share your story on my platform. Thanks for being here.
Well, Ms. Martin, thank you for having me and thank you for the invitation. Apologize it took a few weeks, but
that's okay.
It's good to be here.
So you're a Rattler graduate like myself.
Yes.
It looks like we kind of coordinated there on accident. Good thing, go Rattler. Shout out to our alma mater.
Yes.
So you were a 2011 FAMU graduate,
yes.
honor student
yes.
For FAMU College of Law. Talk about your journey from that point until now.
Well, I graduated from FAMU, and I believe it was April of 2011. And it was at the College of Law that I met a group of individuals, friends. We've stayed friends for the last 12 years, actually longer than that since we met in 2008. But my journey began as an assistant public defender. So I was actually an appellate lawyer in Tallahassee, and I was representing people who had been convicted of crimes. They could not afford an attorney on appeal. So as an assistant public defender, I handled their appeals. From there, I went back home to Panama City, Florida, and opened up a small business.
Nice.
Briefly, and then became an assistant state attorney for about a half a decade.
And so how long have you practiced law?
I practiced law 2011 until I was appointed in February 2022, so a little over 10 years.
And what was it like choosing the college that you wanted to attend for law school, other than FAMU being the best? You know, what was that journey like?
Oh, that journey, my older siblings, I have three older siblings, step-split siblings, who went to FAMU at one point or another. So I remember just growing up every October, November, my parents going over to homecoming. And since my since my siblings went to FAMU, I felt as though I was the odd child when I decided to go to University of West Florida. So when I had the opportunity to choose a law school, it was FAMU was my number one. Absolutely, absolutely.
That's right. You know, that question we ask all of the little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Has it always been that? Was becoming a judge something you've always wanted to do?
Absolutely not. I never thought first that I would be a judge or even less be a lawyer. Growing up, I played sports and was a math genius. So I wanted to be an accountant or be a baseball player when I grew up. And then when I got to high school, I switched from baseball and said I wanted to be a football player. But it wasn't until actually after I graduated from college that I sat down and started thinking and said, you know what, I'm going to go to law school. So it was literally a spur of the moment thought. So I went to law school, and as far as becoming a judge, absolutely not. There are some individuals in my life who, when they first met me, said, hey, one day you're going to become a judge. And I remember laughing at them and saying, yeah, right.
They called it.
Yes, and I think I said, if I become a judge, you're going to speak at my investiture. So when I got the phone call saying, hey, you're going to be appointed, that individual came back 10 years later and said, hey.
They didn't forget.
Yeah, you remember this conversation? So thank God the governor and the people of our circuit put their trust in me, but it's nothing I ever had imagined.
So Governor DeSantis appoints you as a new judge to the 14th Judicial Circuit Court. Tell me, what was it like to get that call, and what was going through your head in that moment?
Well, I got the phone call late one evening, and what was going on through my head, did not know what to say other than thank you. My first person I called was my mom. She had been praying with me and for me during the process. And once I told her, she burst out in tears. And of course, she lives in Kentucky, so I wish I could have been there to hug her. But maybe for about a week there, I was dumbfounded, and it did not really hit me for about a week that I had been appointed.
And so it wasn't something you was expecting?
When you are appointed to a judicial office, you actually apply. And you go through a vetting process where you sit down with a local committee made up of attorneys and maybe members of the public in the 14th Circuit. And once you go through that process, they then certify your name to the governor's office, and you go through another vetting process. So I went through those processes, and I certainly was seeking the appointment. I did not believe I would receive it. I knew that there are others who were also seeking the appointment whose names were certified, and I thought that they are absolutely amazing lawyers, great reputations, and also highly qualified. So I was somewhat, when my phone started blowing up with text messages and phone calls, I was surprised, to say the least.
And they say you're the 11th FAMU graduate to serve on the court. Is that correct?
I haven't counted, but I believe if we count the FAMU law graduates from the 60s, yes, because I believe Representative Hastings graduated, not believe, I know he graduated from FAMU College of Law, and I also know he was a federal judge. So if we count the individuals who graduated from law school in the 60s, I believe I am the 11th.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
What would you say is one of the most important things that helped you become judge?
I grew up with a speech impediment. So my family always told me I was an old soul because growing up I would never hang out with people my age. I always wanted to be with the grown folks. So I was told that I would always speak too fast or cut off the end of my words. And I think it was more or less me trying to talk grown folk talk at 3, 4, 5 years old.
Like Bill.
Yes. But because of that and going through that process of seeing a pathologist and things, I was always just kind to people, humble. I'm not sure if it was more or less me not wanting to speak publicly or just who I am. So I think one of the things that certainly got me through this process and allowed others to believe in me was just me being kind to everyone, looking for opportunities to serve others, and more importantly, just being genuine and being who I am.
Absolutely. Your Honor, we do realize that a judge is held at a high standard, but it doesn't start when you receive that degree. It starts early on.
Yes.
Tell us how your representation preceding you is important to getting to this point. You have to keep your record clean even at a young age because that's something they look at.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to become a judge, not only your record as an adult, but as a juvenile, everything that you've done publicly could come back to play a factor. Of course, we've seen recently with a national nominee when everything was scrutinized with that nominee. And I can tell you that it could be the same whether or not you want to be a state level judge or at the federal level. Any and everything you do publicly and possibly even privately could come back to face you one day. So keeping your reputation stellar, your background clean.
Especially on social media.
Especially on social, I don't have social media.
Which you don't have because y'all have the appearance of improprietor.
Yeah, I mean, there are some judges who have social media. I just decided not to have social media because I'm from Panama City and I know a lot of people there. And I never wanted to be in a position where people follow me on social media or commented on one of my photographs.
You like my picture, so
yes.
You must be in favor of me, Your Honor.
I didn't want anything to be said, come back, so I got off of it. But yeah, even social media, I know applicants whose social media pages were carefully reviewed.
It can make or break you.
It could make or break you. So something you posted when you were a sophomore in college or your first year of law school could come back 15 years later.
I know a lot of people have their own idea about what a judge is and what they do. Tell us a little bit more about the expectations of a judge.
Expectations are high. Judges are held to a higher standard, not only ethically and morally, but also in the courtroom. So in my opinion, I believe judges should be patient, kind, should be people with the utmost reputation and character, prepared, and stewards of the law and of the people.
And if you run into a judge that may be rude, how would you go about that?
I think you should simply, if you run into a judge who will be rude, maybe that judge is going through something. Judges are people too. I would simply, if it were me personally running into a judge who would be rude, I would understand that maybe that person is going through something that day, he or she. I wouldn't respond to it. I would not engage, and I will maintain that upper level and be respectful and tactful.
So there's always someone who wants to sue someone or wants to go to court. Sometimes it may be their first time in a courtroom.
Oh, yes.
Tell me some of the do's and don'ts when appearing before a judge.
Do's and don'ts when appearing before a judge. In fact, interesting you said that because I was in court today speaking to a young man, and I'm not sure if it was his first time or not, but after letting the young man know what happened in court and when his next court date was going to be, he said, "Huh." And I said, "Excuse me, young man," and he had his head down, and I said, "Pick your head up. What did you just say?" "Huh," is what he was saying, H-U-H. And I said, "Sir, if you have a question, you should say, 'Your Honor, I didn't understand.'" So the court will always treat everyone with respect, and one of the big things is never to disrespect the court. Even when you intend no disrespect, some of the colloquialisms could be construed to be disrespect. Always be on time. That's another thing. Always, if the court starts at 9 o'clock, be there early. Don't walk in the courtroom at 9:05 or 9:10.
May not work out in your favor.
May not work out in your favor. You may end up in a holding cell.
Oh, Lord.
Always dressed appropriately, and always address the court with "Your Honor" or "Judge," and never speak out of turn. So if someone else is speaking, just wait your turn, and the judge will give you an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Those are some good, helpful tips. So I know there are some incidences where people become emotional when entering a courtroom for whatever reason. Is it appropriate to do so when appearing before the judge? And if so, to what extent?
Yes, it's certainly okay. I mean, we're human beings. We have emotions, so it is okay to show emotions. Sometimes, depending on the context and where you are in a hearing or trial, the judge may ask that you hold back on some of those public displays of emotions. And if you simply can't control yourself, it'll be appropriate to excuse yourself from the courtroom if you can't abide by that admonition. But you're dealing with real people, real lives, real situations. People may cry, people may scream.
But it won't affect the outcome.
Oh, certainly not affect the outcome. You may be asked to step outside the courtroom to contain yourself, but I don't believe any judge will, because you're crying, will treat you any type of way.
And for those out there who may be seeking to fill the shoes that you have, talk about some of the key components that it takes to become a judge. I know you have to read a lot.
Oh yes, I read a lot, whether I'm a judge or not. I read a lot. I try to read everything I can, especially in a court case, to the extent that I can, so that I'm prepared. I believe that judges owe that to parties. When someone comes to the courtroom with a dispute or an issue and want to present it to you, I believe judges have that responsibility to at least have an understanding of what's going to be before the court. But not only do I read a lot, there's a lot of ethical considerations that judges can or cannot do over and above what lawyers are held to. Some judges do their own research. Some judges have staff attorneys or clerks who are lawyers, who are members of the bar, who do their research for them or assist in the research. I do the 14th Circuit. We have staff attorneys who are amazing. They do help us with research. I also do supplemental research myself, so I can ensure that what I'm doing is the right thing and consistent with the law. I set aside my personal belief of what the outcome should be. I'm bound by the law. The law is either statutory or case law from the Florida Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, or in my instance, the First District Court of Appeal. So personally, what I believe the outcome should be never comes to mind. I simply follow the law and call balls and strikes. If it's a ball, it's a ball. If it's a strike, it's a strike.
And for those who are young who may not know how this works, do all judges wear black robes all the time? Not all the time,
but certainly when we are on the bench, judges do wear black robes. I believe it's a sign of respect and authority. Some judges wear their robes in chambers when people are coming in chambers to actually present an issue or argue a case. But I tend to only wear my robe on the bench. But all the time, no. I do wear a suit all the time, though.
So I know you were born in Memphis,
Yes.
Tennessee,
Yes.
but you were practically raised in Panama City.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to serve as a judge in your hometown?
I don't believe there are words that can express what it means to me to be raised in Panama City and now to be a judge in our circuit. It's profound. I can tell you, when I was in Washington, D.C. briefly, I spoke glowingly of our area, and especially recently when there are some issues in our country. I always said, I grew up in Panama City, and we are a great people. We love, we look out for one another.
That's
we
right.
speak to each other, regardless of where you grew up. And I can tell you that I would not want to be a judge any place but here. This community, I love it. There are those who open doors and windows for me, and I have a responsibility to give back to this circuit and to our community.
Yeah, you're going to pay it forward.
I will.
We thank you for
Absolutely.
that. And how can we continue to support you, ways we can contact you if we need you?
The 14th Judicial Circuit has a website, so you can just type in go to Google, type in 14th Judicial Circuit, and on the left-hand side of the web page, there is a link to the judges. So you can go there and see all the judges in the 14th Circuit. Click on the links, you can get their contact information, including my contact information, which email will be listed there, and phone number will be listed. You can get in contact with my judicial assistant.
Nice, nice. Well, you have a big day coming up. Before we leave, tell us about that. You're getting sworn in pretty soon.
Oh, yes, yes. I've been on the bench actually since February 1st. So my
okay.
commission date was February 1st of this year. But my investiture, which is a public event, will be on April 29th at 3 p.m. So you can watch via YouTube. I believe it will be live streamed via YouTube. If you want to come in person, all are welcome. And it will be at the Bay County Courthouse. It's 300 East 4th Street in Panama City, Florida. And that will take place at 3 p.m.
Well, congratulations.
Morgan,
we look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
That's going to do it for the Morgan Martin Show. Thank you guys for joining. Catch the Morgan Martin Show Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube Premiere. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Morgan Martin Media LLC. And don't forget to show some love on Instagram at morgan.martin.media. As always, stay tuned for more.